Hello and welcome to this screencast. Today I'm going to show you upcoming changes in the Orbit editor, which is the editor to our library called BonsaiJS, a drawing library. So the point of today is that whatever change I make does not actually refresh the code. The current version of Orbit, that's online, currently refreshes the entire stage whenever you make one change. I'm going to show you that it doesn't anymore. So this red circle will move from the top left corner to its current position whenever the code will refresh. Let me show you. Refreshing the entire browser, the red circle will move. Okay, so let's start by uncommenting these lines of code. You can see that the small rectangle is now moving around, but it's a bit small. So let's make it bigger. So now it's a very big rectangle. Let's make it slightly smaller. All right. We can also change the color and we'll now randomly animate the color. Note that the syntax error does not actually kill the code because the set interval will just reschedule the original function as it was. As soon as it's valid, then it will recompile the function and the new function will be picked up. All right, so other changes. We can now click on the output, and if you look closely here, you can see that this line of code was actually sort of selected. If I click on the rectangle, then this line is selected because this was responsible for generating that orange rectangle. The black squares are all generated by this line of code. So regardless, if I switch to another and I'm back, it will, for every rectangle, highlight this line of code. This goes both ways. So let's just select one for the show of it. If I click here, you can see that all the black rectangles are now selected. And not just selected, but I can actually just drag those around. And as you can see, it will update all the siblings, so all the rectangles that were generated with the same line of code at the same time, giving you a very strong impression of where all the instances are going to end up if you change one of them, because that would affect the source code for all of them. And not only does it do it for the output, but it does also for the source code. So as you can see, it will just try to edit or append to the existing expressions at the proper arguments of the constructor. So the rect takes an x and a y and a width and a height. And this is the expression for the x, which is a pretty complex expression, and it will just try to find the last number and just update it with delta for your movement. If the number ends with a 15, it just appends the number rather than just edit it, because multiplication to 15 isn't the same as addition to 15. So actually, let's move these a bit out of the way. All right, so let's move here. Of course, that works for any kind of shape. I can make it bigger, and note that I can change these numbers, and even if they have a variable, that the variable will be taken into account. So if I have x, which is, if you see at the top, 20 right now, the current y, because this is the y parameter, is 20 times 10 plus 14. So if I remove the 14, I have 20, x times 10, and that should be 200. So if I add a delta, it will add the number to that 10 rather than updating the 10. Whereas if it would be a plus 10, meaning that it's now at 30 height, and I would add it, then the last number would be updated because that's fine. Same goes for negative or whatever. I can also update the color, the stroke, which is like the border, and of course the stroke color, which is I don't know, make it orange, sure. And the same goes for path. So path is a bit of an exception because every method adds to the shape of that path. So I can, by the way, it's this purple line. I can move that purple line and I can just change its its edges. I can also make the edge bigger or wider rather, or just change its color as before. Another thing that we have is a widget. So if I click on the circle, right now we only have a widget for the circle, you see this thing pop up. Of course this is unstyled, but it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that I can just use this handle now to increase or decrease the size of the radius, or maybe just move it around, either left or right or top or bottom. Now we intend to create widgets for all the shapes that are possible, and of course these are trivial, but they will add in complexity. So that's the widget. Another feature that's already been blogged about is the cheat sheet. So whenever you put your cursor at something that you might recognize, it will search the entire documentation and give you all the hopefully relevant part of the docs. So my carrot is currently on rect, and you can see that it just gives me all the rect stuff. If I put it on fill, I will get the fill stuff. This is really handy to see the examples or to see some documentation while you're typing. So this is good to learn. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. As you can see, by the way, the original stuff that we created is still jumping all around, and that's the main thing to take away from it. This is actually recompiling and not so much refreshing. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are interested in Bonsai or Orbit, Bonsai can be found on BonsaiJS.org. Orbit can be found on that website as well. Note that the current version does not include these changes yet, but they will soon. The docs can be found on docs.bonsai.js.org, and we, of course, we have a Twitter that you can follow. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.